Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 157 of your favourite Formula 1 show. Knowing Wheel returns with, I think, what is arguably the biggest ever news we've done on the show. Jamie, would you agree?
Probably. It's certainly the first time we've ever done an emergency extra podcast that wasn't planned.
We did do one for Seb.
Did we?
When he announced his retirement, yeah, we hopped on for Seb's
I don't remember
retirement
that.
announcement.
This is definitely bigger than that, though. So.
This is bigger than that, definitely. I mean, if you've been living under a rock, yeah, we don't normally do a Friday show unless it's like a Grand Prix preview. But today is something a little bit different. We're here to discuss the all-new Haas. No, we're not. That hasn't been revealed yet at the time of us recording this. Of course, today we are discussing the bombshell move of Lewis Hamilton to Ferrari. But before we get into that, please do remember, if you are new, make sure you get yourself subscribed. We've made a promise that when we reach 10k subs on the Knowing Wheel channel, we will do a tour of all 10 of the Formula 1 factories based in Europe, in trying to get to all of them inside 24 hours. So, maybe we'll be going to see Lewis Hamilton's current employer first, or maybe we'll be starting our trial at his new employer if we do it next year, Jamie. Start down in Maranello.
Yeah, we're excited for that. So get subscribed and cost us a lot of money. That would be great. So, yes, obviously Hamilton to Ferrari. It's about 24 hours as we record this since the news dropped. It was, drawn out quite long until we believed it for real, or certainly for me. There was too much smoke without fire for a bit. But Will Buxton, who's obviously got inner information from being part of the paddock quite a lot, tweeted on Wednesday night that there would be some news by the end of the week that would rock the world. And one of us two thought it would be Hamilton signing a new contract with Mercedes.
Hang on a minute, I said Hamilton signing a new contract. I never stipulated with Mercedes.
So there we go. It's happened. It took most of the day to get it to the point of the teams announcing it. But yeah, it has happened for 2025, which is a weird situation for this year with, well, obviously kind of what we had in 2020 with Seb, all those changes back then with the McLaren, with Sainz going to Ferrari in the first place, actually. But this time you got Hamilton to Ferrari, racing a year with Mercedes, his final year after 11 even.
12 seasons, yeah.
12, yeah, isn't it? And obviously Sainz, who had a very strong second half of the season with Ferrari, the only non-Red Bull race winner, kind of being collateral damage, which feels a bit unfair. I do quite like Carlos Sainz, despite what I was saying on Monday about him. Yeah, I don't think he deserves to lose his seat, but I just think that's the way it goes when you've got Lewis Hamilton as an option.
Well, I think, yeah, obviously, the undeniable, I don't think anyone within their right mind, unless they've got Spanish flags and a FA14 tattoo on their back, would ever argue that Hamilton isn't better than Carlos Sainz. Like, he's the better option for any Formula 1 team, sensibly. But honestly, obviously you never really know exactly how things have gone down, do we? We only find out some of the narratives and this, that and the other. All the talks were suggesting that Sainz was really not happy being Leclerc's number 2 at Ferrari. He wanted a new contract that stipulated that wouldn't be the case. He wanted to be on similar money to Leclerc and all this, that and the other. And the problem is, at the end of the day, unless you're a driver that's on a similar level to Charles Leclerc, why on earth would you get paid similar money to Charles Leclerc? And although, yes, Sainz has, over his time at Ferrari, probably been a more consistent driver than Charles Leclerc across the board. Obviously, beat him in 2021, almost beat him in 2023, had Ferrari not completely forgot about him in that final race in Abu Dhabi. He's not as good a driver as Charles Leclerc, though, is he still?
No, Leclerc's got higher highs, but probably also lower lows. Sainz will just give you a 7 or 8 out of 10 every race, with the occasional 5. Leclerc will give you 10s, followed by 2s occasionally. So
yeah, looks at Le Castellet 2022.
Yeah, exactly. Or Australia this year, where he just drove himself off the road at turn 3. Sorry. I think it makes a lot of sense for all all parties, other than obviously Carlos Sainz, who's very unfortunate. But he'll have a soft landing, I think. But as the resident Hamilton fan, what are your initial thoughts?
Oh man, don't even. Like, the last 24 hours have... It's just felt so weird. Like, the idea that Hamilton... You know, he's been part of the Mercedes family since before either of us were born. Like, he joined them in 1990... Well, no, he's been part of the Merc family since 1998.
Oh, wow.
Like, you know, that's why he got the gig at McLaren in the first place and things like that. He was a Mercedes junior alongside Rosberg throughout their time in junior formula. And I think, you know, the idea that we'd, you know, every couple of years, we kind of have this, oh, will Hamilton go to Ferrari? Hamilton's been in talks with Ferrari. From what we've kind of found out now, apparently the most serious talks are at the end of 19 and into 2020. And so it looked like they might have been trying to replace Seb with Lewis.
Wow.
But I'm sure he took one look at that W11 and was like, yeah, that's fine. I'm having that, thank you.
Yeah.
So he decided to stay there for a few more years. But the idea that he's kind of the idea that he's leaving that nest, I think, is quite odd. But on the other hand, whether he wins or whether he doesn't with Ferrari, I don't see much of a way that this ends up too badly. He's not at a point in his career where his reputation could be tarnished. I don't see Lewis, you know, he's not going to do a Seb where then he has to go to a midfield team for a couple of years. He will retire from Ferrari. I'll say this now, and he'll end up doing like a 1-year deal at McLaren or something, going back to square one to finish his career. But it just, you know, it's that idea, of course, that, you know, McLaren to Mercedes was obviously a big gamble at the time, but we could kind of understand it afterwards, and of course, obviously paid off so well. Mercedes to Ferrari, though, is a very, very different kettle of fish, isn't it? However, you know, it's Ferrari at the end of the day. It's the most successful driver in terms of raw statistics in Formula 1 going to the most successful team. You know,
in terms of raw statistics.
In terms of raw statistics.
Not value for money.
No, of course not. But you know, this will absolutely be one of those things, isn't it? That 5-10 years down the line, people will be going, where were you when Hamilton announced he was joining Ferrari? Do I think he'll win world championships? No. Do I think he'll win a race or two? God, I hope so. Because that'll... I mean, you've got to admit, that will break Formula 1 and potentially... You know, that's up there in the same kind of level as Messi winning the World Cup, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, if he win a world championship, absolutely. He would have to be the GOAT, probably.
I don't think you could argue against it.
It would be very difficult if he ended the near 30-year run without a championship for Ferrari.
30?
20, yeah, nice.
I was going to say 2007 was not 30 years ago.
I forgot that I was alive and I'm only 23. So, I think for Hamilton, you kind of think, why not? Because you think...
Oh, absolutely.
This year, probably Red Bull. We've said that for about 6 months
since
now.
Last year, yeah.
Like Mercedes and Ferrari the last few years have kind of been almost equal in like car performance, trajectory. They certainly have, but like neither of them are making massive steps towards Red Bull. And
second half of this year, Ferrari did. Leclerc took 3 poles in the last 5 races.
He was also on the front row 6 in a row, wasn't he, at the end?
Yeah, and I think we also forget as well, and I wonder if this was a big thing for Lewis. Leclerc should have won Vegas. Like, it was just the safety car that saved Max.
Yeah, it's true. But then he shouldn't have won it on pure pace, because obviously Max had the issue.
Took his
own issue, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
I just love how this is now a narrative that Ferrari were on the upwards trajectory 2 weeks after you predicted them 5th place in the championship.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Literally 2 weeks ago I said Ferrari will fluff it up.
They'll finish behind Aston Martin in 2024.
But Lewis isn't racing for Ferrari in 2024.
Yeah, they can do what they like.
So I'm not too worried yet.
I think it makes sense for both. I think like the chances of winning a championship at Mercedes or Ferrari, like at either of them, are fairly low, while Verstappen and Red Bull in the current regs are still going. So it's almost like, why not? He's only got maybe 3 or 4 years left in the sport. He's obviously never driven for Ferrari. And as Sebastian Vettel once said, everybody's a Ferrari fan. Even if they are not, they are.
Yeah, I tell you what I want to know, because you can guarantee that Seb has texted Lewis, and I would love to know exactly what that message says. Whether it's literally 2 words, and it says
Forza
good
Ferrari.
luck. Yeah, or Forza Ferrari, yeah, something like that.
I think Seb will love it. He loves that team still.
Oh, absolutely. I think, it would not surprise me if this is how we see Seb back at a couple of Grand Prix next year, going full Lewis fanboy mode, or something like that. It just is. It's such just a weird idea, isn't it? Because it's been one of those things that has been spoken about for so long. This insane idea that Lewis could go to Ferrari at some point.
Well, we've tried to clickbait it at least once a year. So.
Oh yeah.
And now we don't have to.
Now we're right. Exactly. It conjures up so many different emotions, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Will it go well? Will it be a failure? Is it going to be the way Hamilton deserves to end one of, if not the most illustrious career ever in Formula 1? Who gets to name a car in 10 years' time? The Hamilton. Will it be McLaren? Will it be Mercedes? Or will it be Ferrari? We just don't know.
Yeah. I worry. This is the worst case scenario for Lewis if it plays out. He goes to Ferrari, gets trounced by Leclerc, and just leaves. And then it's kind of, what was the point of that? That's like when Schumacher came back. But I guess if you get the highs, if he gets a win, or a podium in Schumacher's case, wasn't it, against Rosberg, then you'll probably take it for the narrative.
I think as well, it's slightly different. Hamilton hasn't spent 3 years at the sport. And I think 2023 was a big year of proving that 2022 was the outlier, was kind of the hangover from the disappointment of 2021, as we've said so many times before. I saw someone tweet about this yesterday. It would not surprise me if Leclerc goes in a 24 race, let's say it's 24 race season in 2025. It wouldn't surprise me if Leclerc went 14 to 10, 15 to 9 in qualifying. But it also wouldn't surprise me if Hamilton put 50, 60, 70 points on him over the course of a season.
But another year, Hamilton's going to be 40 by the time he starts racing for Ferrari. Yeah. Which, I feel like if I was Leclerc, I'd be excited, because I feel like it's almost like a win-win.
Well, you say that. Let's not forget how much everyone's been banging on about Fernando Alonso now.
Yeah, true.
I think the fitness regimen in Formula 1 for the really elite drivers means that your operating window now is fantastic.
Yeah. But I think, unless Leclerc gets destroyed, which I don't think will happen, if he loses marginally, it's fair enough, it's Lewis Hamilton. If he beats Hamilton, obviously his stock's through the roof. So I think Leclerc has got quite a good deal out of this, going against Hamilton in 25.
Well, the weird thing I think about it as well is I can see them working really well as teammates.
I think
this is
unless
helping.
Unless they have a winning car, then at which point they'll stop working well.
Oh, yeah, there's every possibility that if they've got a dominant car and it's quite clearly just a dogfight between the two of them. But I can really see kind of Hamilton just not necessarily being in awe of Leclerc's one-lap pace, but having a huge appreciation for it. But I can really also see him kind of steering Leclerc in the right direction of, eliminating those errors.
Getting the tyre under control.
Getting the tyre under... But that's been more the Ferrari car still, as well. But also just kind of refining him and refining the team around him. I wonder if there's even just a tiny element of... I know full well you are the driver on this grid that is capable of beating Max Verstappen. And I want to make sure that when I'm gone, that you're going to do that.
That somebody is here to stop Verstappen winning 8.
Exactly. Well, I wonder as well if there's just a tiny element, because I know we've spoken about it before, and we've kind of always said, haven't we, Max Verstappen talks too much about not caring about records to actually make you believe that he doesn't care about records.
Yeah.
The idea of, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but I don't care about this or that. Going, full well you do, sir. No one has this kind of drive if they don't.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's an element from Lewis of going, well, let's just say, even if I don't win at Ferrari, or if I only win a couple of Grand Prix or something like that, Then when Max Verstappen's, trying to wind down his career in a few years' time, if he wants to retire early, Lewis goes, "Well, I raced a Ferrari, mate." Or the journalists go, "Well, Lewis raced a Ferrari, mate. Go on, show us what you're made of."
Yeah, and it's the case of, like, obviously Hamilton won't be around forever. He's trying to make another driver on the grid good enough to go against Verstappen. And I feel like Leclerc needs a bit of support in that at the minute, clearly, from 2022.
Yeah,
so.
And I don't think either as well. I don't think Lewis and George didn't get on, but you never quite got the sense that they were
just a bit cold to
close.
each other, weren't
they just have two very different personalities. He kind of like Lewis is a PR just dream by not trying to be a PR dream.
Yeah.
And George was not really... He wasn't bad for PR, but he was kind of like... He kind of felt too fake, too forced a lot, doesn't it? Which is upsetting with George. Because you kind of always get the sense that he knows what to say, but you just can't say it the right way.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's massively, like, British. So the rest of the world doesn't like him very much because of some of the stuff he comes out with in sarcastic terms that no one else really gets. So yeah. I think, talking about Mercedes, what do they do now? Because is George Russell good enough to lead that team?
I think you're going to have to... I mean, who else do you go to? Who in the sport at the moment sensibly can you get that can lead a team comfortably better than George? You've really got, in my eyes, three options. Fernando Alonso was not one of my three options. You cannot build a future team around someone that is sensibly...
He's self-destructed about three of them.
Exactly. It would be suicide for Mercedes. Nor do I think they're genuinely interested in Aaron Alonso either.
Oh, it would be great though, wouldn't it? I would love it.
I think sensibly, if you don't believe George is a driver you can build a team around in the future, you've either got the option of Verstappen or Leclerc, and both of them are on long... But I wouldn't say Norris is going to be that much better than George. In a way that Leclerc or Verstappen, has the possibility to be.
I think Norris has a higher ceiling than Russell.
Oh yeah, I'm not arguing against that.
Not the way it's not a huge difference. No.
The way Norris was kind of able to keep, it was kind of for so many years. It was like, oh, George is the better driver than Lando through obviously all their junior.
Because he's
formula.
3 years older. He was always a step ahead.
George had that much more experience than Lando. The fact Lando was able to keep him as close as he was, I think, kind of shows how good Lando is.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I mean,
I tell you my favourite pick. If I was Mercedes, and it's not even bait, I think they should try their hardest to get Oscar Piastri.
I can see it.
Because you've got these two McLaren drivers. They're the only team, actually, with both drivers. I know Ferrari, obviously, now. One of two teams with both drivers locked in for 25.
Yeah.
And the way that dynamic went between Norris and Piastri, I don't see how both of them can stay as teammates for more than 2 or 3 years. Because Piastri's on an upward trajectory. Norris obviously is as well, but less upward now that he's 5 or 6 years into his career.
He's reaching kind of the peak.
Yeah. So Piastri, at some point, is going to keep getting closer and closer to the point of them being very equal, you'd think. So we've seen that Norris doesn't particularly like losing to Oscar Piastri, as most drivers would not like losing to their teammate. I don't think either driver will... They'll get to the point where they don't want to be equals, and Piastri will stop taking team orders, and he might start beating Norris. At that point, McLaren have got a problem. And if either of those drivers want to make a move, this seems like a great opportunity. And I think, obviously, Norris has just locked himself into McLaren for a long time. Piastri's contract is probably multi-year or something daft, isn't it? But it probably ends in the end of 25 for now.
I believe he's to the end of 26. I might be wrong, but I thought he'd signed a 3-year deal.
It could have been a 2+1 or something like that. But
yeah.
Even so, I think that's a great shout. Obviously, Piastri's got a stellar junior career. Had a very, very good rookie season.
Well, a very similar junior career to George Russell, really, wasn't it?
But he was younger the whole way through, which I think makes it more impressive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, this kind of just is the whole question, though, isn't it? Is George going to be the number one driver in that team?
Yeah.
Does Mercedes believe that George Russell will be the driver that can take them to world championships and things like that? At the moment, 2022, I think a lot of people believed yes.
Yeah.
2023 really then did kind of maybe reel back in expectations, didn't it? Of George, don't get me wrong, he's not a bad driver by any stretch, but has he kind of got exactly what it takes? And I think this year will be very, very difficult. Because, of course, the other big problem Mercedes have got here, surely you've got to be looking at what Antonelli's going to be doing in Formula 2.
Yeah, totally.
But, that being said, with how many contracts are coming to an end at the end of this year, how many teams are going to be desperate to try and get the signings they want on the board? Do Mercedes then find themselves in a situation where, let's say, towards the end of next year, the fight is intense in Formula 2, and Antonelli then, because he hasn't done a Formula 3 campaign, doesn't get the super license points he needs?
Yeah, exactly. I think this conversation, for me, there's zero possibility that Antonelli drives Mercedes in 2025. Personally, I just think he's 17. He's going to be 18 by the end of the F2 campaign.
Yeah.
Even if he wins it, I think that's too big a gamble for Mercedes. Like, and to be honest, the way F2, like the drivers in F2, I feel like there's a possibility. I think Antonelli would be top 6, top 7 easily, but I struggle to see him winning it when he's got such little experience in single seaters compared to some of the other drivers there.
Yeah, but you've said that about an Oscar Piastri. I think what you got to remember as well is there are just those few drivers you kind of maybe get a couple of seasons where you don't get any, and then a couple of seasons where you get 1 or 2 that can just get into a new car and find the limit.
But I feel like Ollie Behrman, Teo Pourchaire, I feel like he'll be more like
Teo
those.
Pourchaire's not there.
I know he's not there. But like when they were debuting, people were saying similar about them, and even Dennis Hauger to some extent. Some drivers just get into F2 and then just kind of take a bit longer than you'd expect. Because Teo's been there 3 years.
Yeah, but he finished top 5 every season.
He did, and I think that's similar to what Antonelli will do. I think he'll be decent, but I don't see him dominating or winning it like Piastri or Russell did. So, for me,
I think there's also a little bit,
there's no chance he drives Mercedes in 25. They need a stopgap.
There's a little bit of circumstance.
They need somebody to go in. Somebody to go in for 2 years, 1 or 2 years.
Or do you just allow Russell to be your big number one? And just build Antonelli up alongside
you. Have Russell as your number one, but I just think a Russell and Esteban Ocon or Daniel Ricciardo makes a lot more sense for 2 years than Russell and Antonelli. Yeah.
Let's discuss then Mercedes options within Formula 1 for a moment.
Okay.
Sainz. Could we see him just doing a straight swap with Lewis Hamilton?
I could, yeah. I think Sainz will have a similar issue to what he found at Ferrari, though, where they'll try and make him into a number 2.
Is that such... Well, but has he got more potential to showcase himself as a number 1
probably
within that team?
Yeah, I do think
Russell?
So. Yeah, I think the murmurings of Audi have taken Sainz out of the conversation for me, but it would make sense. But I just think there's been so much talk about him going to Audi in 26 or 25 that's probably what will end up happening. But I think Sainz is a very solid driver.
So if he goes to stake then for next year, who gets booted?
I think both of them probably.
Do you think they'll do a full reset 1 year before new regs?
I think.
Or do you want 2 experienced drivers?
Teo Pourchaire
that's a good shout, actually.
Has to be in that car in 25, surely.
Yeah, that's a good shout, actually. So you reckon Bottas and Zhou will be gone?
He'll be gone from Sauber. I don't know if they'll be gone from the sport, but it'd be...
Well, this is what I was going to say. Do we see Bottas going back to Merc?
No. Not with Russell, anyway.
No?
No.
Not even just as a number 2?
Well, what's Bottas at? He'll be 36?
Yeah.
For me, this Bottas will be gone from the sport if he leaves Sauber. I don't see... Unless he goes like to a Williams or something.
You're making it very, very clear that you think Zhou Guanyu's going to stay. Where do you think Zhou goes in all of this?
I think Zhou has the China backing on his side, and that.
No, he doesn't though anymore. The Chinese economy's falling apart.
I think he could end up. I've said this for a long time. He could go to Williams.
But why? Williams aren't interested in a paid driver anymore.
He's better than Logan Sargent.
Yeah, but Williams aren't interested in the paid driver.
Well, you just said he's not a paid driver, is he?
Yeah, but you just tried to argue. Yeah, but that's the problem. That's why he's not going to get a seat. He isn't a paid driver.
I think it's maybe less so now they've got the Chinese Grand Prix on the calendar. I think it was very much in F1's interest to keep Zhou on the grid until they race in Shanghai again.
Oh yeah, they need him on there once, don't they?
But maybe now that will happen, it looks like this year. Maybe they don't need him around anymore, which would be a shame. But I hope he doesn't go. But he's not exactly lit the grid on fire. So
No, just like he did in Formula 2.
3 years would be fair for a career for Joe, I think.
Yeah, he's kind of one of those. Well, it's the same amount of time Latifi got to spend in sport, isn't it?
And the likes of Giovinazzi, Ericsson, those kind of drivers.
Yeah. Ericsson, yeah, he was 3 or 4, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Other
Who
options
else?
then.
Ocon?
For Mercedes.
I hate that. I don't want Ocon there.
I don't want to see Ocon there. I don't think Merc want him there.
I worry that he makes a lot of sense because
No, Merc got rid of him.
he's an old Mercedes junior.
But you know full well he'll have already messaged Toto, and Toto will have deleted his contact. but he'll recognise that number ends in 328 or something, and knows it'll be Esteban. And I'm going to leave that on red.
I don't want Ocon there, to be honest, at all.
No.
Danny Rick?
No.
I don't think.
He's Red Bull want him. Apparently, Red Bull just want him at AlphaTauri now to make that team work, or V-Carb, or whatever it's going to be called.
RB.
He's just going to be there for the rest of his career.
That's a shame for him. Who else?
I've got one.
I've got one, but you're going to tell me off.
Go on. No, go on.
Nico Hülkenberg for 2 years.
Oh, behave. Get off it.
Why not?
Again, why do they want someone so old?
Because they want a stopgap for Antonelli. Hulk would give you a year or two.
Bring in Antonelli, though.
No. He needs to learn out the spotlight a bit first.
I've got another German for you.
Sebastian Vettel.
No,
okay.
Not the one I was going to say, because the idea that Seb could come back and join Merc, I think, is ridiculous.
That'd be jokes.
German, reigning Formula E champion.
Who won F8 this year? I should probably know that. Nick Heidfeld?
No. Nick Heidfeld. Just casually in his early 50s, just shows up.
Yeah, why not? Nico Rosberg?
No. Come on.
A German... Oh, Pascal.
Pascal Wehrlein. He's cooking. He's cooking elsewhere at the moment.
And he was obviously Mercedes junior.
Manor. He was a Mercedes junior.
10 years ago, nearly.
Scored points for Sauber.
That'd be a long time coming, wouldn't it? He was everyone wanted him to replace Rosberg in 2017, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, I massively enjoyed... I don't know if... I read an article, it was a Benson article on the BBC, said something along the lines of Mercedes are less in trouble than they were in 2016 due to the plethora of options there are now, which I just thought was mega shade at the grid at 2016.
Yeah, there were a lot of pretty stinky drivers on the grid, weren't there?
The big conversation back then was Bottas or Wehrlein or Ricciardo, I think it was. But
Ocon.
That's not that different to what it is now, to be honest. So
I think you've got a few more proven drivers.
But all the drivers they're considering are all midfield drivers, really. So
yeah, but it's because the top 6 are pretty well
all
locked in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
if you had to
was
put
me,
money on it.
Yeah. Okay,
who do you want and who do you think? There you go.
If I had the choice, if it was me making the call, I'd be looking at Antonelli closely this year, and I'd be putting Pascal on a really kind of cheap. If Antonelli doesn't get in, you get 1 year to prove yourself.
Fair.
I know full well you're going to say Nico Hülkenberg.
No, I'm not, because I do think that's not going to happen, sadly. If I was picking somebody who I want to be there.
Yeah, we did say that Lewis would never go to Ferrari. That's probably not going to happen. And look where we are now.
I do genuinely, if I took my bias out of the equation, a 2-year deal on mega cheap, he'll do an alright job. I don't see why it doesn't make sense. But
what I hate as well is because of Hamilton now, you're absolutely right. It doesn't make sense, but it might well happen.
It's true. Get Hulk in the Mercedes. It almost happened in 2013. It almost happened in 2017 if he hadn't signed for Renault. Here we go. No, I think I would like Oscar Piastri. That would be a mega move, but I think it'd be great. I think it'll be... I worry that it'll be Esteban Ocon, to be honest.
Oh, no, don't do it. Don't.
I'd
rather they got Pierre in.
I like Gasly to Mercedes, but I just think Gasly's got a longer contract at Alpine. Yeah, Ocon's got the Mercedes ties. I think Sainz would be good. I'm not too bothered, really. Hulk number 1, Alonso number 2. Neither will happen, but there we go. Piastri number 3.
Well, unfortunately, if we move along, there's sadly 2 less seats in Formula 1 than there could have been for 2025,
Indeed.
isn't there?
Indeed.
Other big news that got dropped pretty much as the... No, it was the day after the
before.
podcast release, wasn't it?
Yeah. Andretti aren't coming. That's a shame. It's kind of been whispered and murmured for quite a while now, but I don't know if you saw the James Vowles interview. I can't. It was a night race. Maybe it was Vegas. I can't remember. Where basically a new team coming in splits the Concord agreement in more divisions, but so it goes from being divided by 10 to 11. So that's less money for the FIA to get. So
no, it's less money for the
less
FIA
money
to
for
give
the,
each team.
for the teams.
Yeah.
So if Andretti comes in, for the teams to agree, it's got to add, I don't know, say there's 50 mil. You split that in 10, it's 5 mil each. Split that in 11, it's what, like 4.1 or something.
4.1?
No, that's not right, is it?
4.545454 recurring.
Yeah, there you go. So you can tell he used to be a banker. Like for Andretti to be given the green light from the teams, they've got to add £500,000 or dollars probably each in this hypothetical for each other team, which clearly the teams don't think they would do.
But I think there's also a big point that you're missing there.
Okay.
So obviously the prize pool overall, obviously you just said 50 million there, obviously is way under.
Yeah.
It's allegedly around 1.1 billion.
Okay, right. So you're talking mils that Andretti need to add to each team instead of Ks.
Yeah, but you're ignoring a very important factor there. Let's call it $1 billion at simplicity, because that's a much closer number to what it actually is.
Yeah.
How much do you think Formula 1 is worth at this time?
An awful lot more than that, that's for sure.
$18 billion.
Yeah.
It's gone up by 4x since Liberty took over. $18 billion. If you think Andretti, especially in the first couple of years, because of course they'd have to give them $600 million immediately, which they said they'd do, that ups you to nearly $19 billion. You know, they'd bring in extra... You know, they would bring in support from the US. They would do all this, that, and the other. It's quite clear that all the teams are running to the FIA, with maybe the exception of Alpine, because they were going to be able to sell them some engines, going, no, we don't want it. But I don't think it's the prize money that's the problem. I think that's a fantastic excuse. I think it's the fact they're scared. Let me just get up a stat for you, Jamie.
Okay.
Between Andretti and Cadillac, what they won in 2023. So, of course, teams have said they don't believe Andretti would be competitive in Formula 1. They don't believe they've got what it takes. Potentially. They can't guarantee they'd be competitive in Formula 1. In 2023, Andretti and General Motors won the Indy 500, the Formula E Drivers' World Championship. They got a podium in GTP at Le Mans. They won Le Mans in GT3. They won the Daytona 500. They won the IMSA Championship. They won the Bathurst 1000. They won the World Endurance GTE Championship. There is so much that they won last year that a Formula 1 team could only dream of. And they did that in 1 year alone. If you think for a second Andretti wouldn't be competitive, you are an apocalyptic moron.
Yes. There's definitely an element where it adds competition.
It is fear by
so
the teams.
if you can stop them entering, then it's in your own team's interest to have less competition. But it's a shame because all the teams kind of say they want what's good for the sport. Certainly the media-facing people do. And then as soon as they have an opportunity to make it, like to improve the sport, they don't take it. So it's a shame. They haven't killed it totally, because they said about 2028, didn't they? But
it's just stringing them on, though, isn't it, at this point? But I mean, like Formula 1 have said, they only are really interested if they were going to bring General Motors, obviously via Cadillac, in as well. We're going to have Mercedes power, Audi power, Renault power, Red Bull Ford power, Ferrari power. Do we need 6 different power unit suppliers?
5's probably enough
for
11 teams.
For 11 teams?
11, yeah. I don't know. I think
I mean, it's so obvious, isn't it, that the teams are running away from a fight.
Yeah, yeah, and I think from a business perspective and a competition perspective, you're gonna like I don't blame the teams.
Oh no,
because
but Formula One should, on the other hand, be going, hang on a minute, you lot don't get the say on this.
Yeah,
this team is massive. If you think you're scared from a fight, and whether there should be some guarantee from Formula One saying, well, we'll up the prize pool by 10%.
I guess this is what was as stupid as it was. The heritage bonus that they used to give.
Well, they still do to Ferrari. Well, Ferrari get a huge one. Williams get a smaller one.
Yeah, but back in the day before they changed it, every team who was there for at least 10 years got the same flat rate. So everyone for a stage apart from Haas got the same rate.
Yes.
And that's kind of like a probation period where if a team wants to come in, they're basically going to have less of the prize pool for 10 years. So it almost makes them want to. They've got to stay for a long time.
Well, you've got to finish higher in the championship to earn as much money as, say, a Williams that's finishing 10th.
Yeah. So, as stupid as it was that the Ferrari bonus or whatever they used to call it was crazy. Like that kind of probation period where a team has to be serious to stay. I think that would be quite a good idea again. But yeah.
But it technically exists, doesn't it?
It's
just obviously it's just a mute point at the moment, and I think it was only 3 years, wasn't it? It was based on your average finishing position over the last 3 seasons. You'd get a slight variation in the money, wasn't it? And the thing is as well with that, Andretti are willing to front 600 million just to get in.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not a problem. They aren't a team that's going to go bankrupt out of nowhere.
Yeah, I do think it's a massive shame. And hopefully they get in eventually. Or they just buy Haas, to be honest.
Well, Gene Haas is adamant you don't want to sell still, isn't he? And I think this is the problem, isn't it? Is obviously every team has gone, well, our value's gone up by 4 times in the last 5 years.
They're not going to help it go even more.
That's not through your hard work. That's through the sport absolutely blowing up in popularity.
Yeah. Yeah.
It staggers me that... I mean, the FIA have already said, haven't they, that they're going to be holding strong talks with Formula One management now, kind of going, what on earth are you doing?
Yeah.
We've said this team is fine. You can't then turn around and go, well, we don't think this team is fine. It just is.
The schoolboys in the playground basically crying.
Exactly. And I mean, we've kind of spoke about it recently, haven't we? That Liberty Media, obviously, we spoke such high praises of them throughout the first few years of their time taking over the sport. Now we're getting a few too many street tracks. Now we're potentially getting a few too many races in the US. Are problems starting to emerge? We'll wait and see.
Bring back Bernie.
It's still maybe no chance. Bernie would ruin the sport.
Bernie let in 3 teams with no reason at all.
No money, exactly. But it was also the idea that teams can't have social media and that kind of thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
However, literally this morning, before we launched the podcast, it was confirmed that Suzuka was getting a new 5-year deal, which is fantastic news, isn't it? Because
one of my favourite circuits.
that was going to go to a street track.
One of my favourite circuits on the calendar.
I would still love Fuji.
No, Suzuka's better than Fuji.
For racing? Really?
Well, all in.
Suzuka's an iconic track, but let's be fair, it doesn't really deliver many good races.
Yeah, but
anymore.
It's just the vibe, isn't it? You get up nice and early.
But you get that at Fuji.
Yeah, you do. The run down to turn 1's always fun, similar to Fuji. And, just seeing the cars go through Sector 1 there. It's phenomenal. Yeah. And you got the hairpin. Who doesn't love a Kobayashi send into the hairpin?
Exactly, but you get 4 of those at Fuji.
Well,
I would love to see them do.
Threw away 08 at Fuji, didn't he?
Well, exactly. What I want to see him do is do Fuji and Suzuka on back-to-back weekends.
There's not enough Japanese interest to have 2 races, is there?
Would you say that? Suzuka pretty much still always sells out.
It does.
Do you not see how many fans were there in the last couple of years when it's been absolutely pouring down?
Yeah, true. I don't think F1 would do that, to be perfectly honest.
I would quite happily. Japan deserves 2 Grand Prix.
Yeah, I love it. And the fans are great. The Japanese fans are some of the best in the world. So, just to sound like Lewis Hamilton briefly, but there we go.
He's not speaking Italian, mate. You don't sound like him.
Yeah, true. Forza Ferrari. Another Asian circuit that could be on the comeback. Malaysia, Sepang. I love Sepang. It's great.
I'm worried, though, that this got announced before Hamilton announced he was leaving Merck, because this is apparently being funded by Petronas.
Yeah, true.
And suddenly they've lost their golden boy.
Yeah, well, if you get in Fernando Alonso, then you can suddenly go again, can't you?
You just know full well Fernando Alonso trying to shill petroleum.
Yeah.
And all this, that, and the other would be awful. This new Mercedes car that I've got uses Petronas fuel. I prefer to run my car on chip fat or something like that. Oh, Fernando.
Yeah, I would love to see Sepang back, but yeah, as you say, it was announced before Hamilton left, so, or the rumours that they were trying to come back were announced, because Petronas would be completely bankrolling the whole thing.
The project.
Yeah, it obviously last race day 17, so it would have been 10 years.
I suppose it's a good way of reducing your tax bill by fronting a Grand Prix each year. Because I'm sure Petronas will be one of those. I mean, you look at like Aramco and things like that, don't you? They've got more money than they know what to do with.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, why don't we just pay to have a Grand Prix in our back garden?
Have a little tax write-off, and then suddenly you've got a Grand Prix in Malaysia as well. We'd win.
Exactly.
Speaking of Malaysia.
Carry on. I don't know where you're going with this.
We missed this last week, but we're going to do a little quiz.
Oh, no.
Because Malaysia has been on the F1 calendar since 1999.
Yep.
And ended, obviously, for now in 2017.
Yep.
There have been... How many is that? 12? No. 1, 2, 3.
What's happened to your maths today?
11 different winners of the Malaysian Grand Prix.
Okay.
You've got a minute. Go.
Eddie Irvine, Michael Schumacher, Ricciardo, Verstappen, Hamilton, Rosberg, Vettel, Barrichello?
No.
No, he never won
Rosberg
it.
actually never did either, but there you go.
Felipe Massa?
No.
Kimi Raikkonen?
Yep.
Fernando?
Yep.
Giancarlo?
Yep. I didn't think you got that one. 2 left. You got 30 seconds.
Mika? Did I say Mika?
Not Hakkinen.
David Coulthard?
No.
Juan Pablo Montoya?
No.
Ralph Schumacher?
Yeah, he's one of them. 20 seconds. 1 left.
Come on. One more. Mark Webber?
No.
No.
10 seconds. Oh, you will kick yourself if you don't get this.
Schumacher. Irvine? I already said Irvine.
5 seconds.
Schumacher? No. A Button?
Yes, there you go.
And a buzzer.
There you go. Well done. All of them.
Oh, I suddenly just remembered that one. I'm happy with that.
If you got Fisichella and Ralph Schumacher, but not Jenson Button.
Did I get Ralph Schumacher, I
Yeah.
didn't know he won that.
Yeah, that was good.
When did he win it? 03?
I guess 03, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah,
There you
03 was
go.
a wild year, man. Wild. I'm genuinely quite happy with that fact I got that at the buzzer. Have we got anything else to add, though, Jamie? The last 48 hours really have been tumultuous, haven't they, in Formula 1?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Has, Sebastian Vettel announced he's returning with a car that runs on chip fat or something?
Not yet. One thing I realised we didn't actually mention... we didn't mention Alex Albon at all, but I don't see him going to Merck, to be honest.
No. I think Williams are desperate to continue setting up his team.
And I think his one shot at the proper big team didn't go too great, so I think Mercedes would be less inclined.
Here's one final question then for you, Jamie. In terms of raw driver skill, when do you last think a team had a better lineup than Leclerc and Hamilton for 2025? I know full well immediately your head went to Hamilton Rosberg.
Yeah, well, actually my head went straight away to Button Alonso, but I don't...
That's out there as well.
I do think Hamilton Rosberg is better, to be honest, than Leclerc Hamilton.
Really?
Well, Rosberg's won a championship against Hamilton. Prime Hamilton.
Oh,
I don't
think was he really his prime in 16? He couldn't start the car.
Well, he also, he wasn't trying very hard for most of the season.
Exactly. And Rosberg barely scraped it still.
Yeah, he did drive phenomenally well that year, to be honest. But yeah, I do think Rosberg Hamilton's better. I think obviously Hamilton Alonso, but rookie Hamilton doesn't really count. Although he was top straight away.
Exactly, you beat Alonso.
Tied.
You beat him. The championship don't lie, mate.
Well, obviously people have been saying this will be one of the greatest lineups of all time. Not a chance. Prost, Senna is clear. I think Hamilton's had 3 better teammates than Leclerc. So
yeah. Okay.
We'll wait and see. But it's going to be the best lineup on the 2025 grid, no doubt.
Oh, easily.
Unless Alonso goes to Red Bull.
Yeah. Oh wow, I would love to. That's the only team I would like to see Alonso go to, just because I'd like to see him try to bully Max and just see how that would go.
It wouldn't happen. It would just be an
Well,
explosion.
I can't work out whether it wouldn't happen or whether Max would fold like a pack of cards immediately. It would be one extreme or the other.
I think it's a win-win for you if that would ever happen.
Oh, absolutely. It's why I'd quite happy to see it happen. There's no way this ends badly for me unless they end up with like an unstoppable force that takes Lewis out every week.
Yeah, exactly. They just take turns taking Hamilton out.
Exactly. Shocking. Well, that is going to do us then for our special episode of Knowing Wheel. We did forget to mention as well, because a couple of you have been asking, yes, we have already got our lawyers in touch with Matt and Tom Bellingham for nabbing our name. So see you in court, buddy. Next time round, actually,
stewards.
Exactly. Next time round, actually search up the name of your new show before you just do it. But we will make sure that Knowing Wheel reigns supreme over what was it called?
Wheel knowledge.
Wheel of the Know or something.
Wheel...
No, not Wheel of Knowledge. I don't think.
I think it was Wheel Knowledge.
Is it Wheel? Yeah, it was Wheel Knowledge. That sounds about right. So yeah, bunch of frauds over there.
Well, they won't last till Hamilton goes to Ferrari anyway. So
no, exactly. So we'll be good there. But thank you all as always so much for listening, and we'll be back very soon. Well, next week we'll be able to talk about Haas's new car, and I believe there's a couple more, isn't there, before the next show?
Yes.
So good times ahead as 2024 finally splutters into life.